Hey everyone, before we start off this new episode of the Domestique Cycling Podcast, I would like to invite you to the Domestique Social Ride. What is Domestique Social Ride? Well, it's a social ride that takes place on August 20th in Belgium. If you'd like to attend, you can find the pre-registration form in the description below. We will ride 80 kilometers around the stunning scenery of the Flemish Ardennes, the scenery of the Ronde van Vlaanderen. So if you want to be there, go fill in the form and we'll see you there. Now, enjoy this latest episode of the Domestique Cycling Podcast.
Is Jonas Vingegaard the big favorite for this year's yellow jersey?
Yes.
Do you think Greg van Avermaet has a place in the AG Desert Citroën team for this Tour de France? Oh, damn, that was fast. Is David Gaudu a contender for GC top 5?
No.
Will Wout van Aert reach Paris?
No.
Is UAE Team Emirates as strong as Jumbo-Visma?
Yes.
I've got the spots, the sickness. There's the twins in my brain.
Here we are, a few days before the start of La Grande Boucle, a race that doesn't need any introduction. And we're breaking records today. For the first time in this podcast, 4 domestiques are joining me to preview every single team and every single rider starting at Tour de France. Welcome Yves, welcome Bram, welcome Josh, and welcome Dieter.
Bonjour.
Hey.
Guys, no time for small talk today. We have 22 teams or 176 riders to discuss. Same rules as the Giro preview. We have 5 minutes on average per team, so let's get started. The first team we'll talk about is probably the team of the big favorite. It's Jumbo-Visma, going to Bilbao with Kelderman, Van Baarle, Van Aert, Benoot, Laporte, Van Hooijdonk, Koes, and Jonas Vingegaard. Josh, you said, I want to talk about Jumbo.
Well, I think I wanted to talk about Jumbo in comparison to FDJ because I think, as most of Twitter agreed with me last week, the Jumbo team isn't as strong as last year. I don't think personally. I mean, I'm looking through it, and you're thinking Laporte, he's not going to be too much help in the mountains. Van Hooijdonk might be able to do the lower ones, but again, not that much help. We don't really know Van Baal's condition. I know he won the national champ, so he must be going okay. But again, he's not kind of a high mountain support. Kelderman will probably crash, and Tadej Benoot sometimes performs really high in the mountains and sometimes doesn't. So when I'm thinking of kind of, the Col de Loze and all those big climbs, I'm thinking, is Vingegaard going to be alone? Because is susceptible to having an off day. So it's hard to know.
And there goes the credibility of this podcast episode.
Did you think that's unfair though?
I've talked to Dieter, who said that Vingegaard will smash this Tour de France. He's the big favorite, and no one will be able to beat him. Dieter, it's your turn.
Apart from the injury, the injury from Pogacar, I think that won't be too much of a problem. I think that will be healed. Just Vingegaard's climbing level is just higher. So if Vingegaard is at this level, he just is better than the Pogacar who is at this level. So it's an easy equation then.
What's the biggest danger for Jonas Vingegaard in this Tour de France?
Crashing out or sickness, I think.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat my what I said about Remco for the Giro, but that is the same case here. You got to stay on your bike.
So only illness or an injury can stop Vingegaard from winning Tour de France?
No, it's not. It's never 100% sure that a rider hits his top level, even if they have done everything right. So, but numerous races have already proven that Vingegaard's numbers are just better as Pogacar numbers. So, yeah.
What about Paris-Nice?
Paris isn't the big goal, I think. I am talking about the best watts, and Vingegaard does quite some better numbers than Pogacar at top level.
Who will be the last man standing for Vingegaard in the big mountains? Will it be Sepp Kuss or Wilco Kelderman?
Yeah, I think it should be Kuss. Kuss has sort of shown that in usually for Roglic, that he is able to do that and actually stay with him for a long time, even with only the top level favorites remaining, if he has a good day. Kelderman, I don't know yet to what degree he can really push that pace.
Kelderman was quite good in Swiss, if I recall correctly. He rode on a more than decent level there. So he's ready for the Tour de France. But like Bram says, we don't know how he will behave in that domestique role, if he's able to push that pace up when it's needed. So Kuss might be the most loyal domestique for Jonas.
What about Wout van Aert? What do we expect from that guy this Tour de France?
Stage wins, I guess. Yeah, he says that is his goal at least. I think he might have a little bit more freedom to go for those compared to last year, since the big pressure is kind of off since last year, since they've won the Tour. And of course, his goal is also a little bit later in the season with the Worlds, and him not going for green is gonna also.
Do you think he's not going for green? Because I saw some predictions that mentioned Wout van Aert and the green jersey was still a perfect match.
Yeah, I think I wrote that prediction because I don't think that Wout van Aert needs to go for green to get green. He needs to reach Paris though, so I was quite surprised by Yves' answer on that question. But yeah, I think he's going to get green, even though he doesn't necessarily go for it.
Dieter, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I think we definitely won't see a Tour de France from Wout like last year. Like I even see some people predicting him for KOM. But I think like with the eye on the World Championships, he is, I think I already said it in the podcast before, I think he is going to evaluate his power file with his trainer every night and to look like, okay, today we went that deep, tomorrow we go in the break, so we get a little more training in the championships, or tomorrow we stay calm, just roll in half an hour later than the GC group or something. I think he's really going to ride the Tour like that.
Exactly. Wout said he's not going for green because it takes too much energy every single day. So yeah, I don't really think he's going for a KOM jersey because that's basically the same. But he did say though that he wanted to try and win another mountain stage.
After what we saw last year, it's possible that if he picks one stage and he aims for that one, he will be close to the stage win of that, to get that victory.
In Jumbo-Visma, we also have the name of Christophe Laporte at Dauphiné. He won a few stages, and then some people said, why can't he go for the green jersey? What do you think his role will be in this Tour de France?
It's a strange one, isn't it? Because he is kind of a Wout van Aert light. I mean, he's exceptional, don't get me wrong, but Wout van Aert seems to be better at everything than Laporte. So, I mean, of course, he's good on the flat, and he'll be an able bodyguard for Vingegaard. But I'm not sure he brings more depth, but he doesn't bring anything different, I don't think.
So we expect him to be a domestique.
Yeah, and he might get his chance at a couple of stages. I'm sure he will.
He basically did the same thing last year, I think, winning that stage.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move over to the biggest rivals of Jumbo-Visma, UAE Team Emirates. Their team is Felix Großschartner, Vigard Stakelengen, Mikkel Bjerg, Matteo Trentin, Tadej Pogacar, Marc Soler, Rafael Majka, and Adam Yates. Yves, you tweeted something about Tadej Pogacar. He gave an interview, I think, today. What did he say?
Pogacar said he's ready and motivated for this year Tour de France. He believes in the strength of the team, but he hopes his wrist will heal a little bit more because it's not completely mobile yet. It hurts when there are rough surfaces, and if it will not become better the coming weeks, it will be a tough month, he said. But I don't really know if I believe everything he says, to be honest.
Is it reality or is it a mind game?
I think it's more of a mind game. He's putting Vingegaard up as the main favorite, the big favorite. He's putting all the pressure on the Dane. And it's like the first time he can start a Tour de France since the last 2 or 3 years as an outsider. He started it twice. Last year he started it as the main favorite. The year before he was an outsider as well. But Pogacar doesn't have a lot of chances to start a race or a Grand Tour as an outsider. With the qualities he has, people will always see him as a favorite or the main favorite. And now he has that injury, unfortunate injury, and now he can use that injury to get himself in the outsider's role.
I asked Dieter what was the biggest threat for Jonas Vingegaard, but if Tadej Pogacar wants to win this edition of Tour de France, what should be his plan?
Like I already mentioned to you, there are 2 scenarios in my head for Pogacar. Or he misses the base level that he needs to compete in a 3-week Grand Tour, and he will be on a high level the first 2 weeks. Then he needs to take time in those weeks and suffer in the 3rd week and trying to stick with Vingegaard, or he will grow into the race and have a strong 3rd week.
Tadej mentioned in the interview he's relying on the strength of his team. But do you think UAE Team Emirates is strong enough to compete against Jumbo-Visma? Because in the past, that was often a problem.
In the high mountains, their team is maybe stronger than Jumbo-Visma. They have Adam Yates, who can stay in the shadow of Pogacar, and they don't really need to use him as Domestique at the start. Just let him close in the GC like Roglic did last year. And with Majka, Soler, Bjerg, who can climb well on a good day as well. There are some domestiques to explode a race, and like Josh said, besides Koes and Kelderman, depending on how Van Aert will ride this Tour de France. Yeah, I like the UAE team. It's always interesting to see how Vigard Stakelengen gets in that team, because he isn't the best rider within that team, but he's once again at the start of the Tour de France.
So, if you were DS at UAE Team Emirates, you would start with the ID as Adam Yates as a possible replacement leader for Pogacar, not really as a super domestique?
They are lucky now because Pogacar can start as an outsider, so they don't need to control the first stage. It will be up to Jumbo-Visma if Vingegaard wants to do something, or other teams, and then they can keep Yates, waiting in the wheel of Pogacar and trying to follow the moves of the big guys.
Josh, you don't agree? I see it.
Yates can't perform over 3 weeks. It's just one of those facts of cycling. His best result in the GC is 4th, and in the Tour it was 4th. Like 8 years ago.
Perform for 3 weeks, I know, but if he gets into that 2nd week or early 3rd week, quite close in the general classification, UAE can do what Jumbo did last year, or try to do what Jumbo did last year.
But he was quite close last year, and then he got ill or fell off or both. Yeah. And then he ended up. I think he did finish, didn't he? But he was like 30 minutes down or something. I think if he's close, I don't think Vingegaard's going to be worried. He's a better time trialist than Yates, and he's a better climber than Yates. So I think he can rest easy if Yates is within a couple of minutes.
Can we agree on the fact that Vingegaard and Pogacar are the two main favorites, and probably one of the two will win this Tour de France without bad luck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That means we have our first round of this evening. Who will win this Tour de France of those two?
Tadej Pogacar.
Vingegaard.
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 All right. Interesting. 3-1.
And your pick, please?
Yeah, you can't get out of this.
I'll make it 3-2. Tadej Pogacar, of course. Team number 3 is Bahrain Victorious, racing with Nikias Arndt, Phil Bauhaus, Jack Haig, Wout Poels, Peyo Bilbao, Fred Wright, Mikael Landa, and Matej Mohoric. The team has 2 leaders, 2 contenders for GC top 10, being Mikael Landa and Peyo Bilbao. I say the name Mikael Landa and immediately Yves starts to smile. But Yves, will you be able to smile within 3 weeks as well?
No.
You have no trust in Mikael?
I'm already prepared for disappointment. And he should go for the pocket.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. Do you guys think that both Bilbao and Landa are able to finish within GC top 10?
I think they're able to. Doesn't mean they will necessarily.
Or they should.
I think, to be honest, I'd be more interested in seeing both of them go for stage wins. There's quite a few downhill finishes, isn't there? Which I'd quite like to see Bilbao go for. And yeah, #Freelander, get him in the breakaway, get him in that KOM jersey. That'd be awesome to see. It's not going to happen. It'll be top 10 for 3/4 of the race and then have a bad day and finish 19th. But I'd like to see him in the KOM hunt. Be more interesting.
If I recall correctly, both Bilbao and Landa are coming from the Basque Country, where the tour starts. Does that make them small favorites for that first stage?
I think they'll be extra motivated to try and go for that stage, but like it's a top priority for a lot of riders, that stage, because it comes with the yellow jersey.
I think Bilbao could get close. Or maybe
stage
one
from
of
Bilbao to Bilbao, won by Bilbao. I like it.
Dieter is constantly saying no, but there is only one who can win. So if we need to believe him, so.
What about Matej Mohoric? Yeah,
quit it,
it's
please.
getting quite boring. No, Mohoric has shown he has good legs at the Nationals. Over 3 weeks, I think he can get close to a stage win. Do you guys agree with that?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the team also has another name who has a superb form with Fred Wright.
About that, I looked at the power files from the Nationals, and I made a top 3. But Fred Wright never uploads his power data, so that was a pity. But James Knox and Stevie Williams, a second and third, did, and their power files were both bunkers. Only Healy beat the power file of James Knox, and they were like 4,000, little over 4,000 altitude meters on 180 kilometers, and Fred Wright beat 2 guys who were more than 10 kilos lighter. And he also said what are the best he's ever pushed. Like he just had to do more than 400 normalized for the whole race, and that's crazy.
Did you watch that race, Josh?
I saw the start and I saw the end. And it was carnage at the start and it was carnage at the end, and apparently it was carnage in the middle. But Fred Wright, I think, looked the strongest throughout the race as well. And I think he's the sort, you wouldn't be surprised to see him roll off on kind of one of the later stages, would you? Kind of, I'm looking at stage 18 here. There's a little climb kind of near the end. If he just pieced out there, that would not be a a surprising victory in a lot of ways, I don't think. But he's just so strong, isn't he? The harder the race, he seems to be better. He seems to get stronger and better. So yeah, I think I'd probably put money on him winning a stage. I'm not sure which one, but I hope to see him up there, repping the national champions kit as well, which would be nice to see.
Sure.
Last year,
Go ahead.
on the volume part, that Fred Wright, without being difficult, it seemed, combined the Tour and the Vuelta last year, which were 2 races where it was very hot, both a lot of days, 30 degrees, which makes it very hard for a body to recover. And Fred Wright combined the Tour and Vuelta, it seems, without problems. In both races, he was very good. So that's so tough. I think that's not talked about enough, how crazy it was what Fred Wright did in those 2 Grand Tours last year.
There is one more name we should mention when talking about Bahrain victorious. That's Phil Bauhaus, the sprinter of the team. Can he surprise us and get into a top 3, or will that be too hard? Or even more?
He will get a top 3. He has proven himself as a strong sprinter, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him up there in 1 or more stages.
Problem is, he only has Nikias Arndt in his train.
I think. Oh.
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, I think Nikias Arndt's more likely to top 3 than Bauhaus. That's my bold pick for the Bahrain team. Arndt's got a knack of getting in a breakaway, isn't he? And then if he's in a breakaway, I think he took a Tour de France stage win, didn't he, doing that? Am I right in saying that? Ages ago? Just having a look. Oh, no, it was in the Giro, sorry. But he was in the break and took a stage win from there. So I think he's more likely to get podium, but that's just my prediction.
Hannes, I noticed you casually skipped Jack Haig. What about him?
Yeah, I think Jack Haig will be Domestique in the mountains, and maybe he gets some freedom to go in the breakaway. But yeah, when talking about Jack Haig, you usually think he's one of the GC guys, but I don't think that will be the case the coming month.
He did Tour of the Alps, Giro, Tour de Suisse, and now rides the Tour. That should be forbidden to do that combination, because that's just destroying the body of a cyclist. That's I don't know what went wrong in the head of the guy in the Dauphiné, by the way, not Swiss. But I don't know what went wrong in the head from the sport director that decided that, because at the end of Dauphiné, Jack Haig already said that he didn't want to be there and that he was completely on his knees, and now he needs to do a 3-week stage race after that while he's already knackered. So I just don't see it. Okay, Jack Haig is a very good rider, one of the best in that team, but don't treat him like that.
Okay, what a way to end team number 3. Let's move over to Bora Hansgrohe, going with Patrick Conrad, Marco Haller, Jordi Meus, Bob Jungels, Danny van Poppel, Jay Hindley, Emmanuel Buchmann, and Niels Pollitt. Yeah, Dieter, this is your team. Jordi Meus, you're on the hype train, so please explain why he is going to win a stage.
He never. Sam Bennett's always got a good train. Mullen, Van Poppel, one of the best, if not the best train in the whole peloton. I think we all can agree on that that's a very good train. Jordi Meus never got to ride with that train, resulting in that he always did very good sprints, but didn't win a lot of races because he was in a bad position all the time, because he needed to do everything himself. Now he gets Van Poppel to the Tour. No Ryan Mullen, that's understandable because they also have Jai Hindley for GC and they need a support squad for that. But now with Danny Van Poppel, he's like a whole train on himself. So that will be a big help to position him. And if he's in a good position, I think Jordi Meus is so underrated. He can beat the best. I'm
Yeah,
sure
well, I read a lot of people saying that they don't expect a lot from Jordi Meus. They don't know why Bennett isn't there. Do you think their opinion will be changed within 3 weeks?
Yeah, definitely. If you saw, and it's always got perfect leadouts. Almost, I think, did he even only one in San Juan? I think this year. If you put Jordi Meus through the same program this year with the same leadout, would have won a lot more races. And yeah, you can't prove that, but I'm sure about that.
The GC guy of the team is Jai Hindley. A lot of people mention the guy for place number 3 on the podium in Paris. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, he's certainly one of the main favorites to get that last podium spot, but he's not alone. He will need to fight for it against others, but he certainly is one of the favorites for the 3rd spot.
Do you think his team is strong enough to support him?
To finish 3rd on a podium, you don't need a lot of support. Just try to stick as long as possible with Pogacar and Vingegaard.
Ask that to David Gaudu.
Yeah, but David Gaudu, let's talk about it later in this episode, shall we?
Emmanuel Buchmann, we need to mention him. Will he be the super domestique, or will he get a lot of freedom?
Dieter has a bet on him for top 3, I think.
Yeah,
I have indeed.
So have I.
Oh, you.
Boekman,
Just give money to me.
I am following Boekman on Strava from the winter to now, the whole year. He had long COVID. He was suffering a lot from that. He rode, what was he in last year's Giro, while domestiquing and while having long COVID, he got 6, 7, something like that. In Germany national championships, he did very good watts, and it wasn't his parkour. Like the climb was 3 minutes, 4 minutes, I think, every lap. So that wasn't even his parkour, and he did a long solo. And he has now fully recovered from the long COVID. He said so. I've trusted him for this Tour de France, and if he doesn't has that top level, he's an amazing domestique for Jai Hindley. So it's a win-win for Bora, in my opinion.
And while Dieter was giving this explanation about Emmanuel Buchmann, we really had a first in this podcast. The first pizza ever delivered. Bram, feel free to enjoy your pizza.
Is there some time for publicity? Maybe.
I just checked it and it's not been cut yet, so I don't think I will. I'll have to wait for a bit. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to grab a full pizza, and that's not going to look good on camera.
You can try.
I won't.
One more name from Bora Hansgrohe. Bob Jungels. He won a stage last year. Will he be able to repeat that trick, or is he domestiquing?
I think he's on domestique duty. But,
Bob Jungels isn't the kind of guy you can just say ride 3 weeks as domestique and you don't get the chance yourself. I mean, you will domestique for the most part for the biggest part, of course, but that's just a rider with his qualities and his level. He just deserves to get 1 or 2 chances for a stage win.
Bob was a part of Giro as well. We didn't see a lot of him there, but he complained about the bad weather. And guess what? I think in France, weather will be good coming 3 weeks.
He was recovering from together with Schachmann. They had the same sickness. It's a tough name. I don't recall the name, but it's like a very hard to beat, hard to get over sickness. It also impacted Schachmann a lot, clearly. But so the Giro was like also a bit of a training and domestiquing ride for Jonas, I think.
Bram?
Yeah, I think not being able to have him ride as a domestique for 3 weeks, maybe at Arc de Triomphe that was the case, but in a team like Bora, where they do have podium ambitions with Hindley, and of course Arc de Triomphe had podium ambitions with O'Connor, but from the moment that O'Connor went home, he was able to go his chance. If
Last year,
Hindley goes the same way, then maybe, but yeah, it's hard to say with Youngles. I don't expect him to go for a stage win again.
well, but last year in the
Never
Tour they had
underestimate
Vlasov.
Bob.
Last year in the Tour they had Vlasov as their GC man, and Jungels also got a chance for a stage win and took it. So
He rode for Arc de Triomphe last year, didn't he?
last year Boa already, no? Or am I crazy?
Last year was Arc de Triomphe.
Yeah,
Last year
I
then.
recall that.
Sorry.
All right,
Excuse
guys.
me.
It's time. It's Josh's time to shine. Groupama FDG is team number 5, going to France.
I can
with
get a
Lars-
pizza slicer at the same time because I'm not going to be in this.
Can
Lars
you
van
bring
den
one
Berg,
here as well?
Olivier Lejac, Quentin Paché, Stefan Koen, Kevin Genietz, David Goudy, Thibaut Pinot, and Valentin Madouas. Go ahead, Josh.
Well, how long do you have? I mean,
5
What
2
was
minutes.
it?
minutes.
what a team. I genuinely think, other than UAE, Jumbo, and possibly Ineos, it's the strongest team in the race. It is superb. They're all peaking at the right time, except for David. He's not peaking at the right time. He's going backwards, but we'll gloss over that. But I would like to say, on a more serious point, I genuinely believe Valentin Madouas is the most underrated rider in the peloton. He is so versatile that I don't know if anyone caught the national championships that he won. He was the strongest by far. And when his 2 teammates blew up, he just extended the gap on his own after I don't know how many K out front. It was a long time out front. And I think if you look certainly at the kind of Kung, Genietz, Gadu, Pinot, Madouas quintuplet, that is some of the strongest riders in the race. You know, I don't know what Pinot will be doing, but I kind of hope he's free to go for a stage win. But if he's not, we could see how well he was climbing in the Giro. Madouas, as I said, is great. Genietz is amazing. Stefan Kung seems to be getting better and better. I mean, that TT win was pretty exceptional, beating 2 of the best riders in the world on his own territory, which is awesome. And Gadu, I'm just hoping he's had his hay fever medication, because I got so hyped in the Dauphiné, and I would love to see him back at that level. And I think actually the race would benefit from being back at that level, right? It would be nice to have someone who can cling on to the big 2 for some of the way up the climb.
No way.
Josh, I need you to be realistic for like 1 minute now.
Okay.
What should be the ambition for David Gaudu, and where do you see him end up in Paris if he gets there?
His ambition should be the podium. I think he'll probably top 5 if he stays in the GC race. But he should be aiming for the podium. He's got the quality to be on the podium.
Dieter?
I feel like Gaudu's very underrated now after his poor Dauphiné performance. He did exactly the same last year in the Dauphiné. In the France championships, he was, I think, the strongest in the race, but just rode for his teammates. It's like he did 2 laps full, and he just rode Cosnefroid to the death. Like, and Cosnefroid is a pretty good rider on the course like that, and he just got Cosnefroid on his knees, and he even bridged to the leaders. So he was already back again very good, and he did a very tough training block ahead of Dauphiné. What made that he wasn't that good in Dauphiné. But now he obviously recovered before the Tour, because you just taper and don't train a lot in the week before the Tour. So I think like top 5 is realistic for Gaudu, and if everything goes right, he can top podium. Like is what last year his spots last year were very good, and he is just a rider that's suited for a Grand Tour because he doesn't die after 3 weeks.
All right. What about Thibaut Pinot? It's his last dance normally in France. Do you guys see him as a contender for the polka dot jersey? Yves, you say no? And why not?
It was a really rough Giro. The weather conditions, the parkour, and there isn't a couple of weeks between the end of the Giro and the start of the Tour de France. I think it's not impossible. It will be very hard for him to get that polka dot jersey. He will most likely try, but there are other guys who are openly fighting for that KOM jersey, who are fresh, and I think he will get in the top 5 of that classification, but he will not be able to win the polka dot jersey, I think.
Do you see him win a stage?
No.
I think he'll do everything he can to try and win a stage, especially after not succeeding in Italy. I think that's basically his only goal: win a stage, preferably a mountain stage, to end off his career. And I think a lot of the FDG riders will help him with that.
He shouldn't ride like a junior, like he did in Giro, where he just wasted way too much energy. Remember the stage with the AF guy, I don't know, Cepeda. If he plays it smart in a big breakaway group and that break goes to the line and he sits and waits till the last 5K and not going with 15K to go, for example.
But that's often his problem. He's often racing on emotions, I think.
Yeah. Another question, will we see Thibaut Pinot tears?
Guaranteed.
Yeah, of course.
In Paris or before Paris?
Before.
And at Paris.
Dieter?
I think it's not how Thibaut Pinot thinks, but he should take it at least the first and maybe the beginning of the second week just easy. Like he has the Giro in his legs. If he goes already crazy in the first week, there are nice mountain stages already. He'll just completely blow up. He has to, like Yves said, bad weather in the Giro that really gets into a body. So he should maintain his efforts, but he isn't going to do that because we know him. But he should do that.
Okay, let's move over to Ineos Grenadiers. Racing with Egan Bernal, Omar Fraile, Ben Turner, Daniel Felipe Martinez, Thomas Pidcock, Michael Kwiatkowski, Carlos Rodriguez, and Jonathan Castroviejo. Are we missing a big leader here, or will someone step up?
I don't see a leader in this team. You might say Carlos Rodriguez, who did a pretty good Vuelta last year, but not really seen much of him this year so far. So I'm not very confident in his ability to, for example, podium. I can't see him podium this tour.
Before recording this episode, I read an article of Andy Schleck, and he thinks Dani Martinez will step up his game and will be a contender for podium. Yeah, I don't believe the guy
Andy
either.
Schleck. I love Andy Schleck, but he's wrong.
Dieter?
And I don't know what's with Dani Martinez since like a year. He's just not performing anymore. He has the level to be the best climber behind Pogacar and Vingegaard. He already proved that with numbers. But just something's off, and I don't know what. I never read anything about it. And that he said that is off. So I just don't understand. He's one of my favorite riders. So yeah, it's a bummer. I don't know what's going on with him.
They probably will try to go for GC with someone, but wouldn't it be better to go stage hunting?
I mean, it's a fab team for stage hunting, isn't it? I really hope that's what they do decide to do, because I think except for maybe Castroviejo, you could see every one of them winning a stage. I think. I don't think that's an unreasonable guess. I mean, they're all fabulous at like a thing, aren't they? So like for Ele, he's got one of the best sprints out of anyone who can climb. We saw Ben Turner can sprint pretty well after a hard day at the gravel race Pogacar won. So yeah, I hope they go for stages and they ditch GC, because I don't see them finishing on the podium. And when they go for stages, they tend to be quite exciting, like they did in the Giro a couple of years ago.
Dieter?
Talking about Ben Turner last year in the Vuelta, there were quite a few finishes that suited him, but he never seemed to go for a stage win. I hope he does that in the Tour this year, because like I think those uphill finishes, like he won in that Spanish race, he can also win that at the highest level, I think.
And what about Tom Pidcock? A few weeks ago, I mentioned him that he would be the best placed rider in GC for Ineos. He has his eyes on the first stage. He wants to get the yellow jersey. Is that possible?
If he has one of those days.
Yeah.
But it's Pidcock, so you never know. I feel like I'm falling repetition into saying this, but yeah.
Pidcock is the perfect stage hunter, right? What he did on Alpe d'Huez last year, and normally he should be a little bit better this year. So yeah, I actually expect big things from Pidcock. But Yves is smiling, so the guy don't agree. He doesn't agree.
I don't know. He can be mega one day and be other crap the day after. But yeah, Dieter, go ahead.
What Yves says, like he's not a consistent rider, and that's pretty important for general classification. Like he'll be the one day he'll maybe right in the top 10 in the mountain stage for the GC group. I really see that happening. He has the level for that, and the other day he can finish like 30th and lose 5 minutes, but then get it back again in the breakaway, so he can top 10, but I think it will be with breakaways.
I would like to mention Egan Bernal as well, not for any general classification ambitions or whatever, but just the fact that he's on the start list again after that huge crash he had last year in January. It's lovely to see, and I hope that he comes back at his top level, that he's able to compete again for the Tour de France. But no, it's gonna be important to get those 3 weeks in without crashes, and maybe go into a break or two and see how far he goes.
Exactly. If I were him, I picked some stages, and on the other days just save some energy, get to Paris.
But I fear Brailsford doesn't think like that. Brailsford tries to stick with Ineos being a GC team, and he loves Bernal, and Bernal is in the team purely for that general classification in Grand Tours. So I fear they will protect him to get as close as possible in the general classification.
Yeah, but if Brailsford wants his team to be a GC team, then he needs to change his transfer policy, I think.
Yeah, but Remco Evenepoel is going to Ineos. They are freeing up budget.
Sure. Dieter, before we go to X.
I think Egan Bernal will be pretty good. Actually, he did a lot of good watts in Normandy. I think it was his best on the hour-long climb Tion 2000. He did very good performance. I think he actually be pretty good and maybe like show those flares from his best level on some days, but not every day. And I think he'll get a top 10, but like a low top 10, and that he needs this 3-week racing that will bring him back to his top level. That's what I think.
I fear your top 10 is getting too small, too big for the real top 10.
Okay, guys. Team number 7, X Pro Cycling. Jonas Abrahamsen, Torsten Trein, Søren Werenskjold, Anton Charmik, Jonas Vingegaard, Alexander Kristoff, Rasmus Tiller, and Tobias Halland Johannessen. It's their first time in France, and they have a pretty nice team.
Yeah, I think it's a really strong team. They'll be able to go stage hunting with this team. They'll be able to go for like long times in the breakaway if that's what they want to do. Yeah, I could see them win a stage or two with this team.
A few weeks ago, we drove to the Netherlands to be part of a cycling quiz, and in the car, I mentioned my dark horse, which was Torsten Trein of Trin. I don't know how to pronounce his name. The guy was pretty decent at Dauphiné, I think. And yeah, when being part of a breakaway, yeah, why not? He could get close to a stage win. Dieter?
He was at a moment in the green stage in Dauphiné. He was riding like the 6th or 7th best climber in a deep field in Dauphiné. If you can do that, you can win a stage. That's just the truth. And maybe go for polka dots if he doesn't go for GC. Why not?
But I've read an article saying Tran is going for the GC or will try to get a good GC result, and Tobias Johannessen will go stage hunting.
That's surprising.
We
I
do
was
it all the
thinking
way
it would be the
around.
opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
In the team, there's also good old Alexander Kristoff. He has Søren Werenskjold as his lead out. But don't you think it would be better the other way around? Werenskjold sprinting and Kristoff doing the lead out? Someone is
Yes.
pretty convinced, Yves?
Werenskjold is the guy. He's in top shape. He's fast. He's strong.
Do you think
And-
he will get a chance?
No.
Yes. Like, in what race was it? Volta at Portugal. He rode a lead out for Kristoff. And Kristoff was in a good level then because he won a race short before, short after. And Kristoff just barely could get past Werenskjold, like on a.
Well,
I
I often have the feeling the two are sprinting next to each other instead of helping each other. So
Yeah, because Werenskjold is just stronger, and Kristoff barely gets past him. We have seen it a lot of times. It's
So
just like,
Werenskjold wins. Kristoff end up seconds and punches Werenskjold in the face because
there's also
No.
Jonas Vingegaard. Can we see him as a breakaway specialist?
No.
No.
I mean, I'm just looking. He hasn't actually won a single race, so I'm not sure you can be classified as a breakaway specialist if you've never won a breakaway. By that measure, I'm a breakaway specialist, which I'll take, but I don't think I am. Yeah, Uno X. This might be controversial. They just don't appeal to me at all. I think their transfer policy is stupid. And I don't
They
really
don't
get.
appeal to you. Them, I think they
No,
have a really
because-
nice team.
Yeah, I don't know. They kind of remind me of early Team Sky, but with a silly transfer policy because they priced themselves out of load of riders by saying we're only going to sign Norwegian and Danish and Scandinavian riders, and that's just silly. It's like you've got to take. I get wanting to promote local talent, but if it comes at the cost of managing your team properly, which I think it's going to quite soon, yeah. But that has nothing to do with the Tour de France. As a team, they annoy me.
I really can't wait for Jonas Vingegaard to be part of the breakaway 3 times in the first week. We'll see. Team number 8 is Israel Premier Tech. Oh, guys.
I do want to say something about Uno X. I'm a little bit disappointed that they're not bringing Vern because he was so good in the past races. I think in Paris Camembert, he sprinted to third place on a flat back tire. I have no idea how he did that, and he even closed the gap to get to that sprint. And yeah, I think what's the name of the rider that like there was a rider, Charmick. I had never heard of this rider. I don't know why he's in this team, but
Charmick, I think he rode some good results in Saudi Tour, even last year.
He's a Saudi Tour specialist, Bram. That's
I'm not.
one of the big races in February. It's the start of the cycling season, and you don't know Charmick?
No, I do not. And I would have much preferred them to be there, who's also now the new Norwegian national champion. So he was definitely in great shape. And the Norwegian National Championship is basically owned by UNOX. So
I feel a lot of frustrations here. But team number 8, Israel Premier Tech with Michael Woods, Guillaume Boivin, Hugo Hull, Chris Nylands, Corbin Strong, Nick Schultz, Simon Clark, and Dylan Teuns. No real GC leader here, I think, except maybe for Woods, but I think it would be way smarter to go for stage hunting and then going for GC. You also have Dylan Teuns. He knows what it takes to win some stages at Tour de France. Do you think he's able to get close this time again?
I think Teuns is in really good form. Where was it in Swiss? And I think it was in Swiss. He showed a couple of really nice results on the high mountain stages. And like he never really tried to go for a breakaway, which is usually how he wins his Tour de France stages. But I think he's just getting himself ready to try and repeat those feats of Planche de Belfi. He's ready for it.
I expect a lot from Dylan Teuns. His form is growing, and he knows how to be part of a breakaway and finish it off. In the team, there's also Corbin Strong, young sprinter. Any opinion?
Hope he sprints strong.
Oh, damn.
How long have you been sat on that one, Eve?
He's been waiting 1 hour for that one.
Correct. No, he will be decent in the sprints. I think he's a valuable guy for the fantasy teams because he's quite cheap and might get into a lot of top 10s in sprint stages and maybe even more hillier stages because he can survive small climbs. So we will see him a lot or often in the top 10 stage results, but I don't see him win a stage.
Peter?
I think we never have seen Corbin Strong on his top level, to be honest. Like, I think he really is very, very good. I can't see him winning a stage because he has like very high watts per kilo and a very, very good sprint. I don't see what's going wrong in races. Like, his watts are that good, but does he position bad or I don't know what it is. He has to win a lot of more races with how good he is.
Do you think he will be one of the surprises of this Tour de France in the flatter stages?
Yeah. Israel wrote in their Tour de France selection, the text, they said that they support Strong, which I don't know the Israel squad out of my head, but had 2 or 3 guys in sports. So if they have that much faith in him, that also says something.
Probably Boivin, maybe Simon Clark. I don't know. I can only see Boivin actually.
It's only Boivin.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move over to team number 9, which is Yves' moment to shine. Lotto Destiny. They're racing with Victor Kampenaerts, Jasper de Buist, Pascal Eenkhoorn, Jacobo Guarnieri, Florian Vermeers, Caleb Ewan, Maxime van Geels, and Frédéric Frison. When Lotto announced their team, Yves said, "This is stupid." Yves, Please explain.
Well, we can't exactly say this is a dream team. We saw the selection from Soudal Quickstep yesterday, and when we compare the squads, they have the same philosophy. Their main target is sprints, Lotto with Ewan, Soudal with Jacobsen, with 6 domestiques around the sprinter. But Jacobsen can win a sprint, Ewan can't. And if he is close to a win, he crashes. And then you have a Maxim van Hils, who is promising and exciting. I never thought I would have said that from a rider from Lotto Destiny, but here we are. So Maxim van Hils is the most exciting rider in that team. But I don't know, they skipped Giro for to get World Tour points in other races and to get their best squad in the Tour. But if this is their best squad, they should stay on Pro Conti level and not go to World Tour.
Shots fired. Dieter.
Kampenaerts in that Dauphiné breakaway, very strong. We didn't see how he rode everyone off his wheel because there weren't images, but I think he can win a breakaway stage like he did in the Giro. Yes.
No, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, okay, but still, yeah, why not?
But this is Tour de France. All the best riders are lining up. Kampenaerts is in a good form, that's true. But he's not the guy that finishes things off easily. That's the problem.
He doesn't have a sprint. He needs, yeah. I already see Dieter looking in his eyes that the watts are flying here.
But he has a pretty good sprint.
Then I never saw him sprint in my young career as
he won right.
GP Leuven.
Yeah, GP Leuven against
Stibar.
That's really Tour de France level. Tour de France level.
We are talking about a sprint, and Stibar packs a pretty good sprint, no?
I agree with the fact Kampenaerts is on a good level. De Beest is on a good level. Van Gils is promising. But
about Van Gils, there is a certain YouTuber, Benji Nasen. He thinks Van Gils could be the surprise on the first day.
And Benji Nasen mentioned Van Gils as a dark horse as well. But if Van Gils, I don't really see him as a dark horse, certainly not after Swiss or Dauphiné, where he was.
Yeah, but Yves, we know we can't trust you to pick a dark horse out, so maybe we'll give him a little bit of credit there. He's more of a dark horse than Ganna was for Roubaix anyway. I'm not letting that one go now.
No, I don't agree.
And Caleb Ewan, I don't know why he's so underrated, to be honest. He still has it. He has just had a lot of bad luck. No good trains. He now has a full train. Yeah.
Do you think he could be the sprinter who dominates the field in this Tour de France? And then with dominating, I'm talking about winning 3 stages. Do you see that happen?
Please don't say yes, Dieter. Because I already see in your eyes, if he's positioned well, he can win. But if Jacobsen is positioned well, if Meus is positioned well,
for me, Cavendish is on the same level or even higher.
Cavendish is higher.
Great.
Come on, it's Cavendish.
Great.
No.
Why did it?
Okay, let's move over to team number 10, Little Trek. So no Trek Segafredo. Going with Tony Galopin, Giulio Ciccone, Quinn Simmons, Matthias Skjelmose, Juan Pedro Lopez, Alex Kirsch, Jasper Stuyven, and Mats Pedersen. We have the future KOM winner in this team with Giulio Ciccone. I'm really convinced by that. The guy is targeting the Pogacar jersey, and really, I can't see anyone beating him.
It's not that easy. Like breakaways are very hard to Ciccone is not the most consistent rider. Like he can be like in Dauphiné. He rode Dauphiné, yeah. He was pretty shit actually until a stage win. Suddenly he rode the final climb almost as fast as Vingegaard and co. So that was a huge level. But the days before, we have to agree, he wasn't that good. So
Which
it's like,
means
and you
he's
need to be
improving.
pretty. That is true. That is true.
Check, mate.
Steve?
Yeah, he's the main favorite for the polka dot jersey, and one of his competitors will be Felix Gall, I think. But Ciccone is one of the best when looking at pure climbing. And if he aims for the stages where there are the most KOM points, he will be in that break. He has a team that can support him to get in that break because they don't have to protect the GC leader. It's a very offensive team. They will all attack and just go for it every stage.
You say they don't have a GC leader, but what about Matthias Kjellmose?
He's not a GC leader in my opinion.
Is he targeting GC?
I don't know, to be honest. Is he targeting GC?
Yeah.
That will be in the big top 10 from Dieter then.
In the lower parts? Not even in top 10, Dieter says. Why not?
Maybe with a breakaway, like
Guillaume Martin style.
sometimes, yeah. But he shouldn't. Like he's so explosive. Why would you target GC being Schiamose to in the best way possible to get a low top 10 if like 5 guys crash out and but he can win 3 stages or something if he goes for breaks because he's very good, but just not on the Tour de France GC level.
Ram?
You're talking about a guy who just beat Ayuso and Evenepoel in Swiss. Like
But-
he has what he needs to be good in a GC. He has very strong climbing and a good TT as well. And he's also now Danish champion, so he's going to want to show that jersey. I expect quite a lot from Skelmos. I expect him on stage 1.
But Skelmose has what it needs to become a main GC favorite. But I fear now at this point this year, he was close to his top level in Swiss and the Danish nationals. And it's still a little less than 4 weeks to go till we reach Paris right now. So to keep that form as good as it is now and maybe even need to improve a little bit to get in that top 5, I think it's too long to keep his form like he is having now.
Dieter?
We also need to be honest. If Juan Ayuso didn't, I don't know what he had in that one stage, but he lost like more than a minute, I think. Yeah. Otherwise, it's easy to say, I know, but also why GC and Remco wasn't even at 10% from his best level. So we also need to see that like in perspective. The watts in Swiss weren't that good, to be honest. Apart from the stage that Ayuso won solo, the watts were pretty meh. So you're not going to be able to do the same in the Tour.
How were the watts of Quinn Simmons at the Nationals in the USA?
Very good. The weather was favorable for it too, so that does a lot. But it was a crazy race, like a very steep climb, like in France, but shorter. And they did that like 25 times, but at a pretty short race. It was only 120 kilometers. It was a fast opening, like all national championships. And then like with I think 2 hours to go solo, and with 1 hour and 45 minutes to go, Simmons bridged to it, and they stayed away with 2. And Simmons ditched him on a descent even, and then just rode to the victory solo, honoring Gino Meder in the most beautiful way possible. So that was great to see.
He's ready for La Grande Boucle.
Yeah, he's. I think he's not talked about enough because people just don't like him. But that doesn't change anything about how talented that guy is. Like, he also, I don't know, he does. Yeah, he's like at track. He is free to train whatever he wants. Like, they are not structured like Jumbo. I think I know there's a lot more potential to be found in Simmons, and it's just his level can be so good. Like, also, he never rode a good classic season to date. This year it was due to being sick in Catalonia, but he can be one of the best classic riders, but it's just not coming out of him. And that's a pity.
What do we think about Mats Pedersen? He rode Giro as well. Is he able to compete for the green jersey?
Yes, I think he also always goes and breaks. He's not afraid of a medium mountain stage even for a green jersey. I don't know if he eyes the World Championships like Van der Poel and Van Aert, but if he does, that would be not good for his green jersey ambitions, because then he's going to ride a bit easier probably. But
You said about Thibaut Pinot that the fact that he was in Giro wasn't favorable for his Tour de France. So that's different for Mats Pedersen then?
no, it was also the same. But Mats Pedersen, am I wrong, or did he miss the final week due to being sick? That does a lot.
The final stages, I think, like 4 or 5 stages, or was it sooner?
But
It was sooner than that.
It was the
stage 13 DNS. So
Yeah.
that's a big change. 9 stages, and it's bad weather. It's worse for a GC guy or a climber like Pinot in comparison with a strong boy like Mats. Like,
Because they have less
where
body.
it doesn't. Yeah, and like we know Pedersen, the World Championships he won. I don't think rain has any effect on that guy.
Okay, let's go to Intermarché Circus Wanty with Dion Smith, Louis Meintjes, Binyam Girmay, Rui Costa, Georg Zimmerman, Adrien Petit, Mike Teunissen, and Lilian Kalmejan. The big name, the Eritrean guy, Binyam Girmay, my favorite actually for the green jersey. Yves, we talked about it this afternoon for Sporza Wielermanager. You think he is, it's too much money to get him into your team, so you don't really expect a lot from him?
He's expensive in Tour Manager. I think he's around 7 mil. That's like first page or upper second page when we look at the pricing of the riders. That's only 2 million less than Mathieu van der Poel, the GOAT. So no, Girmay will be strong, and I understand why you pick him, because he's versatile and can survive hillier stages.
Exactly.
But there are moments where he doesn't find his climbing legs like he should. So sometimes he drops earlier than everyone expects. And I don't want to take that risk for 7 million, 2 million less than Mathieu van der Poel, the GOAT.
Josh, do you agree with that? With the first thing, at least? Because we all
with
don't
not-
agree.
With not picking Girmay, or with not thinking he's going to win the green jersey, because I think both of those are valid takes.
Is Girmay a contender for green jersey, in your opinion?
Sure, he's a contender, but that doesn't mean he's going to win. I mean, if he hadn't have won that stage in Swiss, you probably wouldn't be saying that, I would think, because he's had a pretty shocking season up to that point. And I think, a three-week race is a completely different thing again, and I just don't see it. Whenever he gets to the line, I think there's going to be someone faster than him. Van Aert's going to be there, Van der Poel's going to be there, and if it's a flatter stage, there's going to be a Jakobsen or even a Ewan. I don't see it.
Yeah, but you don't have to win every stage to win the green
No,
jersey.
but I'd be interested. Oh, it was Peter Sagan, wasn't it? This is the last guy who won it without winning a stage, and Peter Sagan is his own category of rider. I think if you're not Peter Sagan, you need to be winning really the 50-pointer, big bunch sprint stages, and he can't do that.
The way I see it, if Girmay is on the same level as Giro last year, he's able to get close to the jersey.
Yeah, but then he'll take himself out with a champagne cork. So maybe it's like slightly below that level, so he doesn't get too excited. But no, it's not happening. I like your positivity and your enthusiasm. It's not happening.
Dieter, don't be too harsh.
No, I'm at your side actually. The Girmay doesn't have Strava, but he has Intermarché has the things, and that provided to the Swiss data from Girmay, and I was actually very surprised by his watts in the second stage that he won. It was also just, you could visually see that it was a very strong sprint. He did 20 seconds on 1200 watts, I think. And that's, you can win him. You can win a stage in the Tour with that. That's just, yeah.
What about Louis Meintjes, their GC guy? Is that another rider for the low top 10?
I mean, I imagine so. I can't imagine him in the top 5 after all the amount of times he's tried it. Top 10 is maximum for him. I'm personally more interested in what someone like Rui Costa is going to be doing. He's had basically a revival since joining that team, especially very, very early on in the season. He's been racing very
even at Tour de
attractively.
Suisse, he was pretty strong.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think Zimmerman won a stage in Dauphiné against, was it Burgodeau?
Yeah.
So the team is ready to shine. Okay.
Definitely.
Team number 12 is Team DSM Firmenich, new sponsor there. John Degenkolb, Kevin Vermaarke, Alex Edmondson, Chris Hamilton, Sam Welsford, Matthew Denham, Romain Bardet, and Niels Eekhoff. Bardet, the big leader, once again going to France with GC ambitions. Is he a guy for the top 5? Because I've read a lot of things about him. People think he's not going to finish in top 10. Some others see him as a contender for podium. Other people say he's going for KOM jersey. What's your opinion?
I personally think that Bardet in the last couple of years has been on a really great form. This year as well. Also, just he's an amazing person. So I want him to top 5, just because of who he is and what he stands for. As far as support goes in their team, I'm not really seeing much beyond Chris Hamilton. So I'm kind of curious how that's going to play out, or if Bardet doesn't really need support.
Kevin Vermaarke, maybe? Dieter?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Kevin Vermaarke, it's just like a guy who has a great potential. I think not to be a GC rider, but to at least be a very good domestique. And he's like one of those guys who's good at altitude. His best performance to date, I think, was in San Juan this year, where he rode a nice result, if I recall correctly. And I expect a lot from Vermaarke. I also put him in my list from the dark horses from the article that I'm going to write.
That's for subscribers on Twitter, I think. You're writing that. So
Yes.
If anyone's interested in the list of Dieter filled with dark horses, don't hesitate and subscribe on our Twitter accounts. There's also John Degenkolb and Sam Welsford for the sprinting stages. On what level is Sam Welsford?
I rate Sam Welsford pretty high. The sprints that he's ridden this year and I think late last year as well. I think he's one of those that is very underrated where like I'm not the Watts person on this podcast, but I think Dieter will agree with me that like he is super strong. And if he's, if he has a good lead out, which I'm looking a little bit at that where I'm unsure if Degenkolb is going to lead out Welsford or if they're just going to sprint next to each other. I'm a bit afraid of what's going to happen there with them sprinting next to each other instead of leading each other out. But I think Welsford is a great sprinter.
Okay, it's time for Movistar team with Antonio Pedrero, Gregor Mühlberger, Gorka Izagirre, Alex Aramburu, Matteo Jurgensen, Ruben Guerrero, Nelson Oliveira, and Enric Mas. The way I see it this year is that Movistar has a pretty disappointing team. Do we all have that feeling?
No, I think this is a pretty strong team, especially with Aramburu, Mas, and Jorgensen. I expect quite a lot from these guys, as well as Mühlberger being champion of Austria as well. I can see these guys do pretty cool stuff with Mas potentially top fiving and honestly being a possible contender for podium after what we saw in the later part of the season from him last year, where he was able to go head to head with Pogacar and actually being able to beat him at Emilia Romagna.
But do you think he's on the same level?
It's difficult to say with the preparation that he's ridden. In the Dauphiné, I wasn't quite convinced, but apparently you don't need to be convinced there, since we're talking about Gaudu so much. So
yeah,
Mas
I have some doubts about
has it in
Enric
him.
Mas, and I think it's really a pity that Matteo Jurgensen has to be the super domestique of Mas because I think, yeah, he's the perfect stage hunter.
Yeah, potentially.
Someone else, Yves mentioned Alex Aramburu as the future winner of the first stage of this year's Tour de France.
Well, yeah, I don't know why he popped in my head, but I think last season Aramburu climbed very strong. He was sometimes in a group where you didn't expect him at all to be into the last 20, surviving on a rather tough climb. And he has a sprint. He's quite fast at the finish line. So if there is some passive riding in the first stage, that I doubt will happen, of course. But if he's able to stick to a chasing group and they come back to a Vingegaard and a Pogacar, then he might get close. But it's a big if. I realize that. But I like the guy and I expect something from him in this year's Tour de France.
Do we agree with that?
I mean, yeah, he's good, isn't he? But he doesn't win enough, I don't think. Given his qualities, I think, and he top tens all the time, but he doesn't. I'm looking at his Palmares now, and there's no real kind of big, crown jewel win. In fact, he won Circuit de Gexco, which I believe is the final two climbs of the first stage of the Tour. I don't know if that's why you picked him, but I just don't see him matching a Pogacar up a climb like that and then being able to outsprint him.
I'm not saying he's going to match a Vingegaard and a Pogacar, but I'm more counting on the fact that they are the two Tour protagonists for the coming 3 weeks. I don't know if a Pogacar will ride with a Vingegaard or vice versa. If they come together over the top, It's more like a chasing group is coming back, and then he comes into play. Of course, if Aramburu is there, probably a Van Aert or a Pidcock or a Van der Poel is in there as well. But you never know what happens.
Dieter?
They both have a reason to ride if they end up at the top of the climb with 2. Like Jonas will lose less only seconds if he goes to the finish with Pogacar. Worst result, which he will probably get a second. If you go to the finish with a small group, there's a big chance he won't even top 3, and then you lose more seconds to Pogacar. And you also, if you go to line with 2, you take more time on all the others. You can just count out every other GC rider. You never know what happens. Maybe someone steps up. So yeah,
but
definitely
you can't forget it's the first stage of a Grand Tour that lasts for 3 weeks, a hard and a tough 3 weeks, and if you waste a lot of energy or all of your energy in that first 2 stages, I don't see Pogacar taking the initiative in the opening weekend. I think he will shadow Vingegaard, to be honest. As he mentioned in that interview, it's like putting himself in the outsider role. But that risk,
you didn't believe him?
I didn't believe him, but I think he's going towards for the 3rd week and trying to be as conservative as possible with his energy. And he's just sticking to Vingegaard because Vingegaard has the morale, he has the form.
I think if Pogacar feels good from the very first moment, he'll hit right away.
What's the best way for Pogacar to win the Tour? Bonus seconds, let's be honest. Like with the sprints, that's a big weapon he has above Jonas. Jonas has an alright sprint. Pogacar has an amazing sprint. Use that and get bonus seconds. Every second counts. And they're both class riders. They always ride. I just can't see that they don't ride at the top of Côte Pic.
One more thing about Movistar. It's Ruben Guerreiro's first year at the team, I think. What about him? Is he on the same level as he was at AF Education?
No.
So far, no. I haven't really seen him enough this year to be sure. Of course, like he was there in Saudi Tour, but that's a long time ago now. Can't really judge people from their Saudi Tour experiences or any of that. Yeah, since the classics ended, I think he only did Occitanie, and even in that, he wasn't that impressive. Like he got a couple of good results, like 6th and 7th apparently, but in that field, he should have been higher.
He's an exciting rider, but we haven't seen him on top level yet this season. If he has his day and he's in a right breakaway, he will be close to the victory, but I doubt his form at this moment.
Okay, let's move over to Dieter. You always need the last word.
But like
my
also
girlfriend.
in Gran Camino, in Gran Camino, Guerreiro rode it at a very high level. I think it was Gran Camino, like the Spanish race early season, which Jonas won with the off-road things. Yeah, he had a very good level there. Jonas too, of course. And after that, he was always a bit meh. I don't know what it is. Like he has the ability to win the breakaway stage, of course, but Occitanie is also not a race to judge the rider's form on, as the climbs there weren't a lot of climbs, so you can't really say how good Guerreiro is going to be. It can be both ways. It can be very shit. It can be very good, I think.
Okay, let's move over to Team Jaiko Alula with Christopher Juul Jensen, Alma Reinders, Lawson Craddock, Luke Durbridge, Chris Harper, Simon Yates, Dylan Groenewegen and Luka Mesgic. First of all, Simon Yates.
Top 3 GC.
Top
Simon
3?
Yates. He'll take the last podium spot. I have a lot of faith in Simon Yates for this year's tour. I think people wrongly say that he isn't a good Grand Tour rider. Adam Yates has the problem with recovering. I think he is the classic 1 week rider, but I don't think Simon Yates has the same problem. He just had a lot of bad luck with crashes, illness in Grand Tours, but that doesn't make him a bad 3 week rider. Maybe I'll look dumb after the tour, but I think Simon Yates will top 3.
So Hindley and Simon Yates will share that third podium spot.
Did I say Hindley will top 3? I
I
said he has the
recall
level for it,
correctly,
I think.
But so
When?
Hindley has the level for the top 3, and Yates will be in the top 3.
Like
Alright.
but O'Connor's also has the level for potential top 3, but not everyone is at his top level. Like someone can crash. Maybe we'll have even a bigger surprise in the top 3, like Carlos Rodriguez. Who knows? But Simon Yates is my favorite pre-race.
Personally, I expect a lot from Simon Yates as well. He's won a Grand Tour, as some of the people in this podcast forgot for about 10 minutes while we were driving to the Netherlands. So yeah, it's also the first time that Simon and Adam are starting at a Grand Tour in opposing teams. So I'm kind of interested to see how that dynamic plays out. So yeah, I'm really excited about Jake Kalula at this tour. A very balanced team, in my opinion, with both a climbing, stage hunting side to it and a sprinting side.
Josh, what's your opinion on Simon Yates?
Yeah, he's a good rider, isn't he? His win in the Vuelta was overshadowed somewhat by Geraint Thomas, but I look at that team, it's just a bit boring. It's like Bram said, it's your kind of classic Tour de France team, but that's not necessarily a good thing. I don't look at that team and be excited. They'll probably win a stage, they usually do, but
yeah, I can't feel the magic either. Actually,
exactly.
There's Dylan Groenewegen as well. I think we all put Philipsen and Jacobsen on top of the sprinters. Is Groenewegen on the same level? Is he on the level below?
I think he's a good sprinter, but I don't. Well, last year he beat Jacobsen in stage 3, was it? So clearly he's able to win these stages. But I don't expect he'll do it this year. I think the competition is on a higher level now.
Peter?
Super easy stages. But we don't have. I think we only have one super easy stage this tour. In those stages, he's like one of the fastest. I know Yves doesn't agree. But yeah, he is. And last year, how did he win that stage then? What happened there?
Luck.
Oh,
That's an easy explanation, of course. Team number 15 is a AG2R Citroën team with Benoît Cosnefroy, Oliver Naassen, Nance Peters, Ben O'Connor, Aurélien Paré-Peintre, Felix Gall, Stan de Wulf, and Clément Berthet. No place for Greg van Avermaet. That's the main topic. Greg felt, really disappointed. He felt a lack of respect. Do you think Greg van Avermaet had a place in this team?
No.
Yeah, me neither, but Dieter does.
and also Dorian Godon. That's even worse, I think. He's also heartbroken from it. He wrote a very sad Insta message about it. That's like even more crazy. Like I think Greg deserved to be selected, He was very good in those 2 French races. He got 4th and 1st, I think. But Doria Gondon is
Yeah, but
3 times
Greg
better
Van
than
Avermaet
Van
said
Avermaet.
he deserved it for what he's done the past years, but we're not selecting people
Yeah.
for what they've done 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
that's irrelevant. Yeah.
some people compare him to Oliver Naassen, but Naassen, he really has the experience as a domestique. He domestiqued for Bardet. He did it last year for O'Connor. So the guy knows how it works. Greg Van Avermaet used to be the team leader. That's completely different.
And Naassen is more than a domestique as well. There were already a lot of people mentioning he's getting the atmosphere at the right moment, at the right time, on the team bus, in the hotel. And that's important as well when you're 3 weeks away.
Exactly. The team
Um,
even wrote it on their website. We love Ollie because of his good humor. So that's one of the
So,
main reasons.
so Van Avermaet not being there can be justified, in my opinion. Godin, yeah, I know he has good watts, but he was probably the first on the list or the second on the list after the selection they made now. And yeah, it's a team in support of Ben O'Connor in the hunt for that last podium spot. Together with stage hunting, I assume they will not use the whole squad just in support of O'Connor.
Exactly. The form of Felix Gall is too good to be a domestique. And what about Cosnefroy? You already mentioned him. He's not the best Cosnefroy we've already seen, so I think stage wins will be difficult, no?
The guy has the capabilities to win stages. Even the first stage could be something for him if he's in top shape, but he isn't, I think. We're not sure yet, of course, before a couple of days before the Tour de France, but he's there, he has the quality, and he's always a danger when he's in a break, when he's in a front group. So it's quite an exciting team, actually. The GC ambitions with the O'Connor, and then the Cosnefroy, Gall, Paris-Peintre to get into break and to get a stage win in the Tour.
Exactly. You said it all.
Move on to Alpes in de Koning then.
That's the reason. That's the reason. Alpes in de Koning. Mathieu van der Poel, Jasper Philipsen, Jonas Rickaert, Sylvain Dillier, Ramon Sinkeldam, Quinten Hermans, Søren Kragh Andersen en Michael Goal. Yeah. Release the beast.
Besides Van der Poel, I love this team. Actually, you have...
So you love the team, but not Van der Poel.
You have Jasper Disaster Philipsen, who's the fastest sprinter at this point. Oh, Dieter, stop saying no, man. He's the fastest sprinter, surely, when he has a lead out like Mathieu van der Poel, who just sprints till 150 meters of the line and then stops at the lead out. But besides that, they have a Kragh Andersen, who's, when he's in a good shape, is a very attractive rider who likes to attack. Gogol is quite a weird guy. I know he always performs quite strong in the Strade Bianche, but besides the Strade, it's not really a lot that he's achieving, but he can do something in this Tour de France, as in being in a breakaway and domestique. And then a Quinten Hermans, his first Tour de France. What about Quinten Hermans in the first stage?
No, I can't see him winning that first stage. I was actually wondering what his role would be in this team because, yeah, I don't really see it. You have Van der Poel in the team, which takes away a lot of opportunities for Hermans himself. So what is he going to do going into breakaways in the high mountains? And even then, that will be too hard.
Van der Poel will not go for everything. He wants to shine at the Worlds as well, 2 weeks after the Tour. So there will be
going
chances.
for a lot. He's going to take a lot of chances. I'm really sure about that.
He's going for a lot, but there will be chances for Hermans as well. Van der Poel, when he feels like he's targeted in a break or something, he opens up some freedom for teammates. I remember Giro last year, where he created the situation that Oldani won the stage, if I recall correctly. So he can free up some freedom for teammates.
But if Philipsen wants to go for that green jersey, he'll need to be part of some breakaways as well to get some points at the intermediates.
Yeah, that's true.
Which once again takes away opportunities of the other guys.
But it's not like Philipsen is in the break and takes the full all at an intermediate, that the others in that break lose the chance on the stage win. It's like
But they have to support him, get in there.
I don't think Philipsen needs a lot of support to get in the break, certainly not in the shape he's now. He's explosive. Does Philipsen needs to help to get in a break?
In days where
It's so
it takes
difficult.
1 or 2 hours to get into breakaways,
Yeah.
he might need some help, yeah.
Yeah, then he needs some help, yeah. But it's not always 1 or 2 hours till the break is formed, so.
But it is on the crucial days.
And the most important thing is that you take the 50 points at the flat stages, and if you win 2 or 3 stages like that, then you already have an advantage on the others.
Talking about Philipsen, he said he didn't feel really good at the Belgian nationals, going over Camelberg, etc. Is that a game changer for his mental game?
No, I don't think you can compare Camelberg to like the Alps or the Pyrenees. We know that he's got climbing legs, that he's more comfortable climbing than, for example, a Jakobsen. So mentally, I think Philipsen is pretty strong. So I think he'll be able to get over that pretty quickly. And also just the Belgian nationals were a bit of a weird race with the warm weather as well. So that could be a factor.
Yeah, but I think it will be warm in France too.
Of course, but well, the past couple of weeks have really served as sort of a acclimation to that warm weather. So I think by the Tour, they'll be used to it more and just have that extra.
Okay. Anything you want to add about Alpes in the Koning? Let's move over to the team that's on the hunt for a record. Astana Kazakhstan team with Gianni Moscon, Harold Tejada, Alexei Lutsenko, Yevgeny Fedorov, Mark Cavendish, Kees Bol, David de la Cruz, and Luis Leon Sanchez. Mark Cavendish. Here he is, Josh. Can he break the record?
Yes. Final stage, Champs-Élysées. He's going to take it. He's going to retire on the spot. You're never going to see him again.
Wouldn't that be beautiful?
It's got to happen. It's got to happen. Him and Thibaut will shed tears together. And the whole cycling world will be happy. And the storylines will be complete. Netflix will be there. Everyone will be there. Everyone will cheer. It's going to be wonderful.
I was just about to ask, are you a scriptwriter for Netflix or something? Because that would be lovely for them.
Yeah, that's the plot, exclusively revealed on the Domestique podcast. No, but I hope he does. Luis Leon Sanchez, good lead out man, as we saw. He doesn't have Geraint Thomas, but I didn't think there would be anyone helping him out in the Giro, not from his team. I thought it was too big of a race, and then I was wrong. So who knows? And also, I think, I can't believe I'm saying this about Astana, it's a decent team. It's not the best team. It's not a terrible team. Lutsenko is decent. I'm quite excited to see about Tejada. You said that so much better than me. He seems to be up and coming, going quite well. And Fedorov is quite good as well. I'm excited to see this team, actually. It's probably the strongest team Astana have put into a race this year.
Yves, Tejada, he's your man? One of your dark horses?
Yeah, he had a strong Tour de Suisse. I know Tour de Suisse isn't a benchmark for what's coming, but the fact that he rode multiple top 10s there on tough climbs proves he's in a good shape, and not a lot of people talked about him. So he can get into a breakaway and get close to a stage win. I don't know the guy good enough to know exactly what his capabilities are, but looking at how he rode Tour de Suisse, he's ready for this year's Tour de France.
And do you know the capabilities of Alexei Lutsenko?
he was ill in Dauphiné, if I recall correctly, so he pulled out earlier than expected. But it's Lutsenko. He's a weird guy who pops up at the front of the result pages, and then he says, "Oh yeah, it's Lutsenko," and he gets in. Last year, I think he's top 5 or top 10 without being noticed. Only in the last mountain stage or the penultimate mountain stage, he climbed very strong, or it's the year before, I don't know. But he will be there and he will show himself. He will show that lovely Astana kid.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what went on in the Swiss races, because he was in Romandy and Swiss. In Romandy, he DNS'd after starting the prologue. I don't know what went on there. Then he started in Tour de Suisse as well, and then DNS'd on stage 4. So no clue what's going on with it. But then he won both the Kazakh championships.
That's his way to prepare for the Tour de France, I think. Otherwise, he would have too much racing kilometers.
Just go to Swiss, ride a prologue, stop,
Just
have a week of rest.
Open up that legs, rest, go again.
Did it?
Right.
COVID in Romandy and not COVID, but another illness in Swiss. I looked it up.
Thank you.
I heard for the Champs-Élysées stage that Fedorov will stay in the bus and Renshaw will take his place to lead out Cavendish.
Probably give him a better lead out than Cess Bowl, the way it's been going.
That's exclusive Domestique Cycling Podcast as well. You heard it here first.
Fake news alert. Team number 18, Cofidis. Guillaume Martin, Jon Izagirre, Brian Coquard, Victor Lafay, Anthony Perez, Axel Zengle, Simon Geschke, and Alexis Renard.
Let's move on. Nothing to say about Cofidis.
Come on, the man, the legend, Guillaume Martin. 14 breakaways and placed 10 in top 10.
Yeah, he'll top 10.
That's
okay,
it.
we can move on.
Move on.
No, Jon Izagirre. That's one of my names. He's racing on home turf.
One of your names in Cofidis. Man.
Yeah, Jon Izagirre. I
How
expect
much beer
something
did you
from-
drink before this podcast?
Actually, none. Maybe that's the problem. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let's move on then. Team number 19, AF Education Easy Post. Alberto Bettiol, Andre Amador, Esteban Chavez, Richard Carapaz, James Shaw, Magnus Kort, Rigoberto Urán, and Nelson Paulus. Someone take the word, please.
That's a weird team, to be honest. Carapaz is their main leader, and it's normal that he has that because he proved himself in Grand Tours. But besides Carapaz, you have a Urán and a Paulus. Urán is more of a suiveur kind of guy who follows the GC guys as long as possible. And Paulus tried GC last year and got a top 10. Paulus said right now that that he wants to domestique for Carapaz when necessary, but stage hunting as well. If
Finally.
Carapaz is on the final podium spot, that he will go in full domestique duty. But it's a weird team. It's a good team, but it's not like a team. It's not, it's hard to explain for me. Like, there are a lot of good names in there, but I don't see them as a team. I see them more as separate riders.
Dieter?
I heard Chavez has been really impressive on training and even better than Carapaz. So I don't know what to expect from him, but that's interesting.
Josh?
Yeah, Chavez, he's not beating Richard Carapaz. Richard Carapaz on his day is the third best GC rider in the world. But I really like the team. I think it's a fabulous team. I would be surprised if they didn't walk away with probably at least two stage wins. I mean, again, it's one of those teams you look down the list and you think, apart from Amador, I could see any of them taking a stage. And James Shaw, he's a classy rider. When he's on it, he's super, super strong. He came, I think he was third, maybe fourth to Pogacar in the Tour of Slovenia a couple of years ago. He was at Lotto and then he went down to continental level for a bit, and now he's back up in the World Tour where he belongs, and I think he's one to watch out for. But yeah, I really like that team. I think it's a really positive team.
Ram, you wanted to word as well?
I just want to quickly make a correction. Paulus was 12th last year, not top 10. And he mainly did that through going for breakaways, but I think trying to win stages. But I really like this team with Magnus Kort. I think you have a lot of chances at stage wins as well. I don't expect much from Carapaz. I think after about a week he'll be out of GC and start going for Polkadot, at which I do rate him quite highly. But yeah, the rest of the team are all potential stage winners.
So without stage venting and no general classification thoughts?
I think they'll start off with that, but after about a week they'll probably abandon it. That's what. When looking at this team, I don't see a classification team, so I think they'll have to abandon it because they're not built up for that.
When I've read the thing about Valders, when they made the team public, their biggest aim was to get high in the general classification. That's why they brought in Carapaz in that team to fight for the general classification. Everything that
Valders says comes true.
No, but it's their main priority, the general classification. So yeah, of course, after the first weekend can all be screwed. But I think
it would be a shame with this team
to go for the GC.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lovely stage hunting team when they go for it. That's true.
3 more teams left, starting with the Wolfpack of Soudal Quickstep. Going for Julien Alaphilippe, Casper Asgreen, Remy Cavagna, Tim de Klerk, Dries Deveneens, Fabio Jacobsen, Yves Lampaert, and Michael Morkov. There's the sprinting train of Jacobsen, of course, which is pretty strong. Do you think this is the best train on the list?
Yeah.
Stronger than the one of Alpecin?
Yes.
Yeah. Why is that?
Like you have Jacobsen as finisher, then you have a Morkov in front of him who have proven himself multiple years times that he is one of the best leadouts in the world. The only problem is Jacobsen needs to trust Morkov. We saw that the last couple of months that it's sometimes difficult for Jacobsen to follow Morkov. Cavendish trusted Morkov blindly. Jacobsen needs to work a little bit on that relationship, professional relationship. And then you have an Asgreen, a Cavagna, a Lampaert who can drill the pace in the final 5 kilometers and just keep Jacobsen in the perfect position to launch his sprint. In comparison to Alpecin, you have a Ricard, who's amongst the best lead-out men as well. And then a Sinkeldam and a Van der Poel. But to keep that pace extremely high in the last 5K, I think Soudal has a little advantage on Alpecin.
Dieter?
Don't underrate Delier. He's a very good guy in the last 5 kilometers. He never gets credit. Even never gets credits for it. But he's very good at that effort, and I think you'll get to see that in the coming Tour de France.
Yeah, I'm not underestimating Delier, but just look at that names that Soudal Quickstep are bringing that are rider, and see rider per rider, they are so good in keeping a high pace up. If they are all there and don't crash, of course. But pure looking at the riders, they are extremely strong.
Søren Kragh, I forgot about him for a moment. He's also someone who can put a damn high pace.
I'm gonna make a sprint train comparison Alpecin Soudal a la Jumbo Groupama on Domestique.
Beside the sprint train, there's also Julien Alaphilippe, of whom I have the feeling he's not the best Alaphilippe we've ever seen. But is he good enough to fight for a stage win?
Yeah.
I think
I really
he's there
hope
to have
so.
a go at it. Yeah. Go ahead.
Dieter?
He was very good in Dauphiné, won that stage on an impressive way. I have the feeling we now underrate him because he suffered from the heat in the French championships. Don't know how to say it in English, but he had a zonnesteek. He had to throw up on the bike. That doesn't say anything about this form. So I don't know why we suddenly would expect less from Alaphilippe in the Tour.
Is it translated as a sunburn?
No.
Yeah.
It's a little bit worse, I
Oh
think.
no.
Ah,
It
yeah.
depends
Oh, like
from the start.
sunstroke.
A sunstroke, yeah.
Sunstroke.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. There are 2 French teams left. And to be honest, they're not
And
the
they're
best.
both rubbish.
Yeah, they're not
Let's
the best.
end this episode. with-
I was going to say they're not the best teams on the list. Starting with
We've
Arkea.
We're also now in the longest Domestique episode we've done so far. It's longer than the Giro episode.
So
Are
it's
they-
time to eat because Dieter is already 3 hours too late to eat. So
And my pizza is cold.
Team Arkea Samsic with Laurent Pichon, Luca Mozzato, Warren Barguil, Jente Biermans, Simon Guglielmi, Clément Champoussin, Anthony Delaplace, and Mathis Louvel. There's Mozzato for the sprints, but of course he's not the top sprinter. And there's Warren Barguil for the breakaways. But yeah, I think, to be honest, this is one of the worst teams on the list. You guys didn't want to talk about Cofidis, so I don't expect you will want to talk about Arkea Samsic.
I like
don't
Jente
expect-
Biermans, his name. That's all.
It
I don't
gets
expect
worse and
anything
worse.
from this.
Dieter?
I really don't understand why they didn't bring Evis Jesper. He's a very good rider, in my opinion, who could win a mountain stage from the break in the Tour. That's how much confidence I have in him. And they didn't bring him. He started getting the Vuelta, but I think like as a French rider in a French team in a French race, on his level, he's better than more than half of the team. Why he didn't go, I don't understand that.
And where is Nasser Bouhanni?
I
No
don't think I
clue.
can say
Didn't he?
something
Didn't
like that
he
on a
cra-
podcast.
Didn't he have a severe crash a couple of weeks, months ago, and is still recovering?
I have no clue.
Yeah, he has ridden races, but he's just, I don't know, he's scared or something maybe to compete again. I think it was in Turkey last year that he had this
People are
very
scared of
big
him, I
crash.
think.
No, but like he crashed very bad in Turkey last year, and I think that's still is in his head because I don't love the rider Bunny, but he just has a very good level when he's in shape, and we didn't see that again. Maybe that's never coming again because of a mental issue. That could be the case, but we don't need to. We shouldn't forget Champoussin. He's a very good rider, but you barely is talked about. He could suddenly win a stage out of nowhere. Don't you think?
This is Tour de France.
Yeah, no, you've been following that 82R Stan account too much, Dieter. Listening to the music too much. Is it him? Is the killer? Yeah, that's it. Champoussin. Yeah. I said,
Alright.
yeah, it's the Tour. They're not winning anything.
One more team for this episode. Total Energies with Mathieu Burgodeau, Edvald Boassenhagen, Stef Kras, Valentin Ferron, Pierre Latour, Daniel Os, Peter Sagan, and Anthony Turgis. Peter the Great, Peter Sagan, can he still win a stage?
No.
No.
Do you hope he
definitely
can win
yell
a
at
stage?
somebody? No.
Yes.
Then who is their best shot at a stage win?
No one.
Hagen.
Not
I
Burgo,
think
though.
Ferron, maybe?
Precies.
The fact that we all say another name, that says enough.
That's
Maybe
true.
Stef Kras?
No.
I think Os.
If Jean Pouzat can't win the stage, sorry, but Stef Cross definitely can't.
But Jon
Sorry.
Izagirre will. Pierre Latour, what about him? On paper, that's one of the biggest names, no?
That's true.
Well,
It's-
on paper, it's one of the biggest names, but our friend and colleague Eritro Poetina wrote a scenario 2023 thing in Dutch, but there was something about Latour in there as well. I'm looking it up right now. What did he mention? He said Latour will attack with 5Ks to go, will be caught with 4Ks to go, and will drop with 3.5Ks to go. That's how it will go.
That's a nice way to end this episode. Guys, what's next for us at Tour de France? What's coming before the race starts? Yves? On Twitter?
What's coming before the race starts? Oh, the Dark Horses thread for subscribers provided by Dieter Loos, or data analyst and specialist in hot takes and easy dubs names. Besides that, there is also there will be some domestique picks to be seen. So before every stage there will be an image, a picture who thinks will win what stage. So Bram
With our
mentions-
personal predictions.
yeah, Bram mentions Kelmose for stage 1. I mentioned Aramburu between brackets for stage 1. There will be previews as well before every stage provided by Eritro Poetina, and domestic stars as well before the tour starts. So who's the biggest favorites for the yellow jersey, etc. Did I forget something?
The main part, domestic life for hopefully or almost every stage, I think.
That will depend on Josh because he's available for the whole Tour de France. So if he pulls out right now, then we have a problem.
There'll be
No
some
pressure.
domestic live for the first week. I know there'll be some for the first week. The 2 weeks after, I'm not yet sure.
No pressure.
All right, guys, the word is for Bram.
All right. That's a wrap for today's very long Domestique Cycling Podcast. A big thank you to our audience for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, consider supporting us on Ko-Fi or Twitter. You can find the links of those in the description. And if you're on YouTube, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I've got the spots, the sickness.